Welcome, everyone, to episode 2. Who would have thought we'd have 2 episodes? So, Joe, hello and welcome to you.
Thank you. Welcome. My friends loved it, and I'm so glad that we decided to do this together because I think it's made me so happy and joyful this week, and having a little chuckle to myself about our Charles and Joe shows. So
It's
I
good
love
fun,
it.
Joe. And we've had lots of good
Yes.
feedback that people like to listen to it on their drive, or they listen to it, or they watch it when they're cooking, whatever. And
Yeah,
that filled my heart with joy. So it's like, yes, we'll venture on to a second episode, Joe. So it's been good.
absolutely. Yes.
It's been
So,
good.
and how has your week been this week, Charles?
It's been good. It's been good. The clients that I've been seeing sort of have I get sometimes a theme when I do
Mm,
work. And this week it's about everybody's putting other people first and they're not putting themselves first. So I've been trying to teach people strict boundaries. No, no, no. You must put yourself first and do you because then you can help more. Whereas if you put everybody else first and then you do you, there's not enough left for you. So that's
correct.
been my theme for the week. How's yours been?
Yeah, my theme has been a lot about people getting drained by other people. They're quite empathic and, discovering that perhaps even they're in the wrong career
Yep.
for their energy and what their soul's actually wanting to do in this lifetime. And also, I've had lots of fair few ladies where, um, the topic of pregnancy and why they can't fall pregnant. And often I find that we're like the end of the road. So they've gone to lots of fertility people, and then they've kind of got right to the end. They can't find what's wrong. So they'll go to a clairvoyant or a psychic to see what they think. And often, it's their past lives that need to be explored or to clear the fear, particularly if
Yes.
they've had terrible births. So that fear is within their soul. So
Yes.
yes, and that leads us to our topic tonight.
Exploring past lifetimes. How good is that? This is my
Yes,
absolute passion project. This is where my heart sits, Joe. So I could talk for
yes,
hours and hours and hours, but I won't.
yes.
But it's amazing what your soul remembers from other lifetimes, and it's amazing what it actually brings into this body and this mind and this spirit. And it remembers things, and you have these things going on in your body. You can't rationalize
No.
feelings, phobias, all of that sort of stuff. And it's not until you actually go back in time that you think, that's where that lies. So it's very
Yes,
interesting.
yes, yes. My This is a bit of a funny one. My It's not funny because it was very serious for this man, but he came to me and he was a Christian person. So
Yes.
he goes to church and all this. So he didn't have sex before marriage. But what had happened is that nothing was happening in the bedroom. And his mum kept saying, "Go and see Joe, she'll sort it out." So when he came to see me, I was like, "Oh, this is your first civilian life you've had. You've been like a priest or a monk." And I said, "So I don't think your soul's not very experienced in this whole thing." And he goes, "All I do is I feel guilty." And I said, "That's okay." So I said, we popped him on the healing table. We cleared his chakras and cleared all that fear away and just sort of got him soul to know that in this lifetime, it's okay. Like he's married, it's safe, time to explore. And then I said, just, if you're still having problems, pop back into the clinic and I'll rebook you in. So anyway, I was on the reception at Alchemy and he's kind of stepped into the doorway and he's put his finger up. We're winning. And then that was it. And then so we knew that it was working. And so he didn't need to come back. But it's interesting. He could have gone a fair while with that, having that problem just by the past lives of never having a civilian life.
Yes. And I see that a lot. People take vows in other lifetimes, celibacy, chastity, all of these things. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And you bring that into this lifetime sometimes. So you've got to get them to release that so that they can move forward in these lifetimes. Yeah, I think people are starting to understand, particularly people that have phobias that they can't rationalize at all. Like this, the
Mhm.
water. Why are you scared of the water? I don't know, but I can't go near the water. chances are you've drowned in another lifetime, or, a fire. People don't like fire. You're probably burnt in a lifetime before. So it's really, really interesting when you can go and explore the past lives.
Very
Have you
much.
done much past life work on yourself, Joe?
Yeah, I have in the whenever I feel like I've got a block, like when I was younger, I had Elliot, my husband, had said, "When are you going to do this work?" And I was like, "No," because all I can see, Elliot, is that I'll be burnt at the stake like every other lifetime of doing spiritual work. And then there was a bit of silence, and Elliot started laughing. He went, "I don't think so in this lifetime, Joe. You're going to be burned at the stake." But so I had to clear a whole lot of fear around. Really, and even this year with launching or publishing a book, I had to go around and do that again because my little self was like, just stay in Bellingen, stay in the healing room, you won't get harmed there. So that's a big one for me, putting myself out there because of being harmed.
And that's so true for a lot of people. And I get that. That was me too. I've gone in many, many lifetimes, burnt at the stake, run out of town, lots of different things. And you think, why am I doing this in this lifetime? What's the purpose of this? But you've got to realize, and you've got to say to your soul, okay, well, that was a different time. That was
Yes.
then. Now we're living in the 21st century, and this is allowed. It's acceptable. You're not going to lose your life for it. So, but I see that. It's like peeling back the layers because you do it. It's like, that gives you the freedom to walk. You go a little bit deeper. It's like, I've got more layers to peel back, okay? Because and I've got to walk beyond. So this is really, really good. We're going to have a fun chat. I've done a lot of past life work on me with my customers. And it's just everybody is so different. And what I find is I can tap into past lives very quickly just by putting my hands on your solar plexus. And just out they come. Sometimes I'm doing a healing and my customers might be going through a certain experience. And what happens then is a past life will come up, and that past life is very much the same as what the person's experiencing in this lifetime. So you sort of say, okay, we haven't learned that lesson yet. We're doing it again. How do we do it differently? And you can actually see it fast forward. You can play it out for them. And you can rewind it. It's like a video in my head. You can fast forward, you can rewind, and show them, okay, you needed to do this and this and this to complete that lifetime, but you're doing it again. That's why this lifetime. So we can clear that. We give them the wisdom from that lifetime, and we move on. You can go really deep with past lives with hypnosis and stuff like that. So when I've been hypnotized, so before I learned hypnosis, I thought I better go and try this stuff. So I went and had hypnosis, and it was surreal, Joe, because you're there and you're looking at it, and it's just like, where am I? And who are all of these people? And what? Hold on a minute. Who am I? I'm a different body. A man. Or my very first one, because I do a lot of out there work with the sky people or the aliens, whatever you want to call them. And my legs were metal, because the first thing they usually say to you is, look at your feet, look at your legs. And when I had these red metal legs, it's like, okay, where are we? What's going on here? And you just go and explore that, and then amazing things. It's amazing. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight: exploring your past lives, exploring your past lives. So you've been reading a book, and it's one of my most favorite and cherished books.
Yes.
Tell us about the book, Joe.
Yeah. So last week, Charles and I were chatting, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm an audio book reader, if that makes sense. I'm better at listening to it in the car or when I'm doing pottery. So it's a Brian Weiss book called. Do you want to pop it up?
I'm doing it. I've got the title of his very first book. I've just popped it up there.
Yeah, Many Masters, Many Lives. And it's about a lady who has lots of phobias and fears and is very anxious. And Brian Weiss is a clinical psychologist. Is that what he is? Yep. And he just wanted to hypnotize her for this lifetime. And when he did it, she went back to past lifetimes to heal. And it was the way I see it, it changed his the way he sees and helps people for the rest of his career, really, doesn't it?
It really did, because she was an ongoing patient. I think he must have seen her for like another 18 months. And every fortnight or month that they would come together, she'd release another phobia through the hypnosis.
Yeah.
And she'd keep going back in time. And, at one stage, like you said, Joe, he said, go back to the earliest times you can think of. And he was thinking in his mind, she'll go back to childhood. But she went
Yes.
back 1800 years to a different lifetime altogether. And it's like, oh, so he was a non-believer at the start, and then by the end of the book, he was a very firm believer of the past lives that we carry and that we have, that sits with us, can be accessed, and it can help change our future by tapping into them. It's very, very special.
Yes.
This is one of his books. I've read all of his books because this is my passion. So this is one of his books. It's called Same Soul, Many Bodies, and it's just what he's done with this book was hypnotize people, and it's giving you an example of the different types of experiences that people have had in their lifetimes, so that they could grow and their souls could ascend. So he's got this book. He's also got books about people who have been in relationships in other lifetimes, and they finish their relationships in this lifetime. He's got, if you Google him or you go to Amazon, he's got many, many books, and he is a psychiatrist, and he's got amazing stuff. If you like to push your mind a little bit, it's very, very powerful. So I was like a sponge. I just couldn't read them quick enough, Joe. I just couldn't pick them up. And I was like, yes, put it down, put it down. But that was so good.
Yes. And I think also when you touched on relationships, particularly when people, like there's a contract with them where one of the souls, let's say the female soul, can't get over a person like her partner, and she knows in this lifetime that he's not good for her, for example, but she just can't disconnect, if that makes sense. And I often feel that what the problem is that one of them keeps not honoring them in past lifetimes, but in this lifetime they've promised that when they meet up, they're going to really honor them and be, fully engaged with that person, but it doesn't happen. So one soul is honoring the contract, so to speak, but the other soul isn't. So it's like if there was a line in the sand, this one keeps moving over to try and get the contract to work, but this person's moving away, if that makes sense. So I find it really hard for like the one that's doing all the work. It's like to put their bat and ball down and go, I can't. I have to honor myself literally now and honor and walk away, even though they know on some level that it gives them great sadness because the contract is never going to be on it.
I've got exactly the same clients, Joe. They know what they've got to do. And it's like, you're right. This one, the left-hand, she goes, I know what I'm doing. Let's go. And this one's just walking away. And it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You should be, you're coming together to finish what you need to complete.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that happens quite a lot. And I'll give our viewers an example of how you might have known somebody from another lifetime without actually knowing them in this lifetime. And the easiest thing that I say to them is, you might go somewhere and you'll see somebody, think, I don't know who that person is, but I feel like I've known them all my life. And you go and engage with them. It's like, and you just connect. And that says to me that you've had a lifetime with that person, or you've had a connection, and energetically your chakras are reading their chakras, and energetically you know that I'm familiar with this energy. I'm safe with this energy. I know what this energy is all about. Does that make sense? Do you agree, Joe? Or do you see it differently?
Oh, no. I know when I met Elliot, I wasn't one to really go to nightclubs, but I really felt like I should go out with my girlfriends this particular night. And I saw Elliot, and he's quite tall. And I've never done this, walked up, went, hi, I'm Joe. And then.
See how the universe works, Joe? You don't
Yes.
go to nightclubs, yet this night you went to a nightclub with your friends, and all of a sudden
On a
there's this guy
Wednesday
at the
night.
bar. On a Wednesday night, there's this guy at the bar, and it's like, oh no, there's some connection here. Hello, I'm Joe. How are you? And see, look what's happened. Universe
29 years later.
See?
No,
the universe doesn't
not
look
at
it
all.
up, Joe.
And also when we met, like we connected really quickly, like we'd known each other, but we had met in this week. Like when we're on a
Yes.
retreat together. So yeah, I think that you can, and it's that familiar feeling that you go, oh, I feel like I know you, but I don't know you. Like,
Yes. Yeah, I had a
yeah,
lady come up to me once where I was working at a healing center, and I'd only just met her for the first time, and she's
yes.
gone, "It's nice to reconnect with you in this lifetime, brother." And it's like, "Well, who is this
Oh,
woman? What's that all about?" But she
yeah.
connected with the energy a lot quicker than I did, and she'd known. And I said to her, "She's my galactic sister," and she calls me
Oh,
her galactic brother. And it's just like,
yeah.
okay, she just read it straight away, and I was like,
Yes.
okay, I like that. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. Okay, so go on.
Oh, no, no. And it's the same like Kate, who works on the reception at Alchemy. We don't squabble because that's not the right word, but it's like a sister relationship.
Yeah.
And even people come in and they'll talk to me and I'll go, oh, you've talked to Kate. Now, Kate is shorter than me and she's older than me. And I always get funny because they go, are you sisters? And I always go, I'm the youngest. But they will get us confused. But also when Kate and I, well, not squabble, but, it's like a sister relationship. Like do you know what I mean? Like it's never any malice
Yes.
or anything, but it's like, yeah. And I think it's
Yeah.
because we've been sisters in past lives.
I see that in so many people. Like I'll have customers come up or I'll do a tarot read and I'm putting the cards down. I was like, oh, this one's a pain to you. This was your son in another lifetime. And now he's your husband or he's now your father. And this is why you've got your butting heads and all of this sort of stuff. And it's quite, and they just look at me, it's like, oh my goodness gracious me. That's exactly how they're acting. It's like, yeah, because I can quite, and when you practice it, because I practiced it for a long time, you can see it. You can
Yes.
actually see who's who. So you probably were sisters and you used to fight and fight and fight. And now you've come back into this lifetime. I was like, okay, the roles are a little bit different, but that energetic connection is still there.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. So,
All
yeah,
right.
so it's interesting to look around in your life and see if you have that familiar feeling with them, to
Yeah.
see yeah. So,
And
did you
that's
feel that
that's
with
so
Sean?
relevant.
Yeah,
Sean and I, it's really interesting because we just clicked like this. And it's just like, how did 2 hours go? And it feels like it's only 10 minutes. And we were walking, walking, talking, talking, walking, walking, talking, talking. And then it was done. It's just like, this was very easy. And I'm not the most um, social person because I'm really not. And one of my friends said to me, just go out to the airport and go and meet this guy. I was like, no, no, it's 38 degrees. I'd rather stay on the couch in the air conditioning comfort. And he just goes, shut up and go. So I went. And then, 2017 is when we met. 2019 is when we got married. And, this is our 6th year. And it's like, off we go, let's make it happen. So, yes, it was very simple. It was very easy. And the energetic connection is we just connect. If I don't know,
yeah,
it's hard to find a word sometimes. It's just we're connected.
yes, yeah, yeah. No, that's exactly with Elliot and I. And I think often we can be thinking the same thing,
Yeah,
and then I'll be like, oh my god, I was just thinking that myself. Like, so
yeah,
I love that. So,
yeah. My boss and I
and
are like that at work.
oh really?
Yeah, she'll say, "Get out of my head," because I'll say something to her, and then she'll
Yeah.
go, "I was just about to say that to you." So it's like we've
Oh,
got telepathy going on, and it's like,
yes.
well, it's really so. Yeah, we've been connected in many lifetimes. I think my boss and I, because we
Yeah.
play it out on different levels. It happens on different levels.
Yeah. And I think sometimes also when you say yes to something and you're like, I would not be saying yes to this, but for some reason my soul said yes. And
Yes,
then when you get down the track, you go like it'll evolve into like it was just meant to be. You're meant to
yes,
be. Mm.
yeah.
So
All right.
yeah,
So you've already touched on this. So effects of past lifetimes on this life.
yes,
So, like you've said, your customers that struggle sometimes to fall pregnant, or
yes,
I get a lot of people that have fears and phobias to take a
mm,
step to, because it's like they hold themselves back.
mm,
So, I had a beautiful soul come into my healing space, absolutely magnificent person, love her, and I said to her, I'm just doing a balance. It's like, there is so much abundance sitting in you. Like, seriously, I could see treasure chest sitting inside her. And it's like, but you've got this wealth from other lifetimes, but you're too scared to go and try and achieve that in this lifetime. What holds you She goes, I'm just too scared to take a chance on life. And it's like, it's okay. So we had a look, and she lost a lot of that fortune in another lifetime, which is why she was scared in this lifetime. So we did some work, and I was like, yeah, but this is why you lost it. And this is, are you going to do that in this lifetime? She goes, oh, no, no, no. I'm much more cautious now in this lifetime than I have been from what you're telling me in that lifetime. I said, okay, good. So let's release that and start, moving forward for you. Wow, this woman's gone from strength to strength. Quit her
Perfect.
job, bought a shop. She sells all these amazing things, and she's the happiest she's ever been in her life. And I was
I
like,
love it.
yes, when you can help somebody get beyond or get past something like that, you're moving those roadblocks, and they can actually live this life to their fullest potential. And
Yes.
I just love that when that happens. I just love it.
Yes.
But they're the effects that these past lifetimes can have. Phobias, water is the biggest one I get a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
I get and I can say, oh yes, tell me about the time, and I'll say to them, you don't like the water, do you? No, 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 no. Oh, I can see that you were on a sailing ship and you've hit a storm, and all of a sudden it's become very choppy, and you had to go to the front of the ship to sort of keep a lookout, and over you went, and it was dark. No, they never saw you again. And it's very interesting as a clairvoyant. You probably see this as well. You see a lot of that stuff, and you see it differently. Or sometimes I've seen people drowning and they're looking up, but you can just see the bubbles coming out of them. Have you ever seen
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Yeah. It's really interesting. And it's like, so sometimes I'll ask him, do you struggle for breath sometimes in this lifetime? When I see that, do you struggle for breath, or is your breathing quite shallow? Yes, yes, yes. When I get stressed, if I go near the water. Okay, there you go. There's lots of things. But spiders, driving.
Yep.
People don't want to drive because they've suffered in other lifetimes. Another one that Dolores Cannon, she's
Oh,
another past life
love her.
regression hypnosis. I love Brian Weiss, but I love Dolores more.
Yeah, me
People
too.
that suffer with things like asthma. So she's
Mm-hmm.
very big on, if you're suffering possibly in this lifetime with asthma or a breathing difficulty of some sort, you've possibly died in a field where there's wheat and stuff like that, because your body's face down and you've ingested it and your
Yes.
soul's remembered that. So sometimes that can happen.
Yes.
Yeah, she's got a lot of different reasons and ailments for how, why, all of that sort of stuff. It's all connected. It's all linked in. So
Very
yeah,
much
it's very
so.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else have you seen with
Even
your clients?
mine, I get a lot of ladies that can't fall pregnant. So we want to heal the past lives of the fear. And whether that's where, recently I had a lady and she lost all her kids like in the potato famine. So
Oh,
it's, I said, what's your biggest fear about if you were to become a mum? And she was like, I don't know whether I can provide for them and if they'll all stay alive. And I was like, yeah. And I went, that's a fear from a past life. So let's clear that. I really, truly believe she'll fall pregnant this year sometime.
yeah.
But, she just had so much fear of, and she would really get frazzled with like saying goodbye to people. Like even if a friend came over and she was waving them goodbye, she would get fearful that something would happen to them, and like she would live in be quite anxious. So we talked through that about past life stuff, and about her husband. I think went one day, didn't come back, and then the potato famine happened, and then so she, we've cleared all that. There's been other lives where I think, it's not that they were forced to have kids, but it felt like in many past lives that having children for a female was the only choice. Like there was no birth control,
Yes,
or,
yes,
you felt so vulnerable. And I think,
yes.
especially women that are quite successful in this lifetime, their soul perceives having children as being vulnerable, you see, and they don't want that
Because
because of,
it reminds them of that past lifetime. I'm going back into that cycle of life.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when we talk about that, and when the visions come to my third eye, and then I explain to them what I'm seeing, and then they're like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. That is what I'm feeling." So so when we talk about all those sort of things and clear that up, I have had lots of ladies then easily fall pregnant. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So, and it's even
It's not
interesting
hard.
with one of my children, when Lexi was born, and Lexi's blonde with blue eyes, so, and my complexion, but all I could see was this little black Ethiopian kid in my arms, and I've gone to Elliot, and I had an epidural and some great drugs, and I was like, "Is she black?" And Elliot's gone, "No, Dal, she's white." And I've gone, "Okay, okay." And then, but for Lexi, for me, even though she's 17, I always will say to her, "Have you got a water bottle? Do you need water?" Because I think in a past life she and I were together, and she died from lack of water. So
Yeah,
yeah, and she's virtually a grown adult now, and she's not ever disrespectful or whatever, but she'll go, "Yeah," but really she really wants to roll her eyes at me as if say,
exactly.
"Mom."
Stop, Mum. Stop. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Another one
But
that I've had, Joe, as well was weight. People that carry
yes,
excessive weight in this
yes,
lifetime. So I did a bit of a in a past life on this woman, and in another lifetime, you said African. That's why it just dropped into my head. She was an
yeah,
African mother, but there was the famine going on in parts of Africa, and she was so skinny. So food was very scarce. So she'd feed her
yes,
children first, and she'd get whatever was left. And what's happening is in this lifetime, there's an abundance going on of food. So the souls remembered the famine, and I've starved myself. And that's how she died. She started starvation. In this lifetime, the soul's going, I can eat as much as I like. I've got to eat. I've got to eat to protect myself so that when the famine comes, I've got
mm,
some bulk to help me through that. Does that make sense? And it's like, so when you understand it on that level, people can then go, oh, okay, I can shift it. And I think for me, that's the beauty of tapping into the past lives, is because
yes,
to understand why I am the way I am then allows me
yes,
to help shift that. Does that make
yes.
sense?
Very much so. Yes, very much so, because you can see it might be subtle for them, but you can definitely see that it's like their soul registers and recognizes it, if that
Yes.
makes sense.
You brought it to
So
the attention. So you brought it into the conscious body and the conscious mind from the subconscious mind. And then it's like, oh, I understand that's my behaviors from other lifetimes. Now what I can do is I don't have to be that person anymore. I don't have to be the one that eats a dozen cream cakes every day because I know tomorrow they're not going to be there. No. When you have that understanding, this is why I find past lives so fascinating, because it's so
yes,
simple. Once you get the
yes,
wisdom, it's how you deal with it, how you integrate that. Just having
yes.
that knowing as to why I am the way I am, some people, that's enough.
Oh, very much so. And I think people are actually very shocked that how many lives that you can have had accumulated now. So, some people can come and they've only had 10 lives, but you can get some people that have had like 200 lives. And when you say that to them, they're like, what? Like, so, it's interesting how many lives people have had, like, you know. And the other thing that I love talking about is especially people who are on the spectrum or a little bit quirky. Sometimes I sort of say, oh, it's not that you're not from heaven, that you're from probably another galaxy or solar system, and humaning isn't very easy for you. And then often they'll go, no, humaning is not very easy for me. And I go, it's just because you haven't probably had a life where, there was one lady and she goes, I just don't like talking, Joe. I just find it a waste. And I said, and she said, but people don't understand me. And I said, because probably in your galaxy, it was more telepathic. So you didn't have to talk, people just knew. And when I was saying this to her, tears were streaming down her eyes because she was like, yeah, right. And I said, well, you've chosen to come to Earth to communicate with your voice. So you're going to have to, well, for whatever reason, this is the life that you've chosen. So, now you have to talk more. So, but, she said, I don't like clothes. I don't even like free will and choice. I just want someone to tell me what to do.
And see, she would be a perfect candidate to hypnotize to go further so that she could see it. She would
Yes,
go to where she's from. Do you know what I mean? And then she'd
yes,
describe it to you as like, I don't have to eat because I've actually been blessed because I do the hypnosis. I do
yes, you
Dolores's
are.
hypnosis Okay.
Yes.
This is one of her books. This is the Convoluted Universe. This is actually book 5. There's only 5. This is book 5. These are books about her subjects being hypnotized and what they've seen. So
Yes.
this woman would possibly go into a lifetime where she's on a different planet
Yeah.
and she's having an existence that's actually easier for her because, as you said, it's telepathy. Most other planets, they don't eat. It's just energy. It's just there's energy. And she can actually just understand it and see who she really is. And when you
Yes.
get to that level of knowing yourself, it's like, wow, okay, this makes complete sense as to
Yeah.
why I don't like people, as to why I don't want to connect with people, as to why this lifetime is so hard. And I agree with you 100% about the children and the adults that have ADHD or on the spectrum. Because for me, when I deal with, I see them on a higher level than human beings.
Yes.
Does that make sense? And I
Very
agree
much.
with you 100%. Humaning is not what they want to do, but they've had
No.
to come here for an experience. And
Yes.
this is that lifetime for that experience. And it becomes a struggle because it's
Yeah.
like, I don't feel like I fit in. I'm a square peg in a round hole and I don't fit in. And when you go into the school system, they want to slow you down or dumb you down or get you somebody because they just don't know how to connect with you. They don't know how to interact with you. It was very beautiful. I'm just going to go a little bit off topic because it's not a past life, but I had a lovely boy. His mother had booked him in and he must have been about 23, 24, very much on the spectrum. And I had my hands on his crown and I could see the real him. And it
Yeah.
was so beautiful because it's like very super intelligent, very well functioning. But for him, it's just like, I've got to be on this planet, I've got to be on this plane to experience what it's like. It's different. And I'm doing it differently because I'm not communicating with people. I'm choosing not to speak. So he was nonverbal. I'm choosing not to speak. So
Yes.
this is why I said past lifetimes are and lifetimes general are lessons that we need to learn. So for him, it was like, how do I communicate differently without using the mouth? And this is like
Yeah.
your friend, your client. I don't want
Yeah.
to speak to people. I don't want to
No.
have that connection with people.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
very powerful, very interesting.
Yeah. So I often think, I know when I had a reading and the lady was like, "Oh, you're not from heaven." And I was like, "What do you mean I'm not from heaven? Of course I'm from heaven." She goes, "No, Joe, you're not from heaven. You're from another, dimension. And that's why you're good at being clairvoyant and psychic and things." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I went down the line that I thought that I wasn't in the light. And I was like, "What?" And then
Oh
when I went,
no, Joe, I wouldn't say that at all.
no, but anyway, and then so when I explored more about where I was from, I was like, "Oh yes, this is, I get it now." But I was young and I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
When I learned in the early 2000s about things, it was still a lot of fear around it all. Like, I remember, I'd go one Sunday a month and I wouldn't tell my friends what I was doing. I was just telling them that I was just doing a self-development course. So I think it's evolved much more now than ever before, about,
I agree.
being more open to things. So, yeah. But the thing I also find about people from other planets that are here is crystals and things like that helps them resonate and vibrate to a better energy, or to simulate here on Earth. Do you agree?
Yes. I totally agree, Joe. And I get a lot of kids that will come into the crystal shop that I work at and they go, which one do I need? And it's like, no, 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 stop. One of them is going to talk to you. So what you're going to do is go and find the one that's talking to you because that's the one you need. And they look like this. And then all of a sudden it's like, this one. I keep coming back to this one. I said, well, that's the
Yes.
one that you need to have. And that's them trusting their intuition
Yeah.
because it's like, that's the one that they're going to work with and let's
Yeah.
go with that. So it's really interesting. It's a really interesting. Past lives are fascinating. They're fascinating me on many levels, and I'm very lucky that even at work, I look at the boss and it's like, oh my god, just something flashes from another lifetime, and I can just see
Yeah.
it, and it's like, oh, that was an instant. Or I'll get people, and I'll see them. It's like, you were this in another lifetime. How do you know that? It's like because I can see it.
Yeah.
And that's I had to train to learn that, and that's why we're going to come here. How, Joe? How do you access people's past lifetimes? How do you tap into them? What's the technique that Joe uses?
For me, I when they're laying on I often in the mornings, when I'm meditating for my people, it will come up that I need to talk to them about some past lives.
Yep.
So it's like, I guess their higher self is talking to my spiritual team or my higher self as well.
Yep.
Often when I'm touching into their chakra system and I'm
Yep.
clearing out stuff, particularly for me, if I feel like in this lifetime, there's a whole lot of karma playing out for them. Like if they've, not necessarily if they've done wrong in this lifetime, but it's like they just can't catch a break. Everything
Yes.
isn't working
Yes.
well for them.
Yeah.
So often I'll always say to their bodies and when I'm touching them, is this happening from this lifetime, or is this stuff that's happening or karma clearing from a past life? So, so it's a lot of that. It's also like, for example, I had two sisters that were twins, and one's life was flourishing and the other one was barely surviving, if that makes sense. And, the one that was barely surviving, she said, this has happened from the womb. Like, that I was this little skinny runt baby and my sister came out fat and plump because she took everything. And she said, in this lifetime, it just feels like that. So, and then when I met the other sister that was the plump and flump big baby, I sort of said to her, let me just feel in. And it's like this one was taking advantage of this one. Does that make sense? So,
Yes.
and I said, I think in this lifetime, it has to be more even, because this is your lesson. It wasn't her lesson. She was just coming along from the ride, really. But the one that was taking everything, and she said, it's just, and she just came out. She goes, it's just so easy to take everything from my sister. And then I stared at her and she went, I can't believe I just said that. And then I went, yeah. Yeah. And I said, Dal, you don't want to do this, because in the next lifetime, you'll really pay back that karma because you're consciously now aware of it. So, and I said, can I balance it up a little bit? And anyway, then the skinny little runty one, her life flourished. She even though they look the same, but it's like she became much more prettier overnight. Like she flourished. So, there's a lot of karma, I think, also that it plays out in our lifetimes. So, we've given a lot of little on our soul's journey here. We get opportunities to be either good or bad. And I think that's a part of our contracts, to see whether we like a little street urchin and cut corners and take advantage of people, or whether we take the high road and stay in the light and do the right thing. So
it's very interesting, Joe, because we have to have those lifetimes in the dark. We have to have those so that we can understand what it's like to be in the light. Does that make sense? Because I went and had a past life regression, and she goes, oh, you were naughty. You were naughty in this lifetime. I was like, no, what have I done? And she goes, no, Charles, don't look at it in a bad aspect. Look at it like this. You had to have a lifetime where you were playing in the dark so that you could understand what it was like being in the light. You have to have balance, because if there's no light, there's no dark. There's no fun. There's no sadness. Does that make sense? So she explained that to me in a really, was like, oh, okay, good. I need to have that balance. And that's why we have that playing out. I do like you, Joe. So for me to access my customers' past lifetimes, like yourself, if I'm doing a chakra balance, particularly when I'm on the bottom three chakras, the base, the sacral, or the solar plexus, something will come out. Not all the time, but then I have some customers that will come specifically, Charles, I just want to see my past lifetimes. It's like, let's go. And then I'll just put my hands on their solar plexus, and it's like, I just sit there and I'm just calm. And then all of a sudden a slide drops in and let's go. So I say this to people, it's quite easy. Pop your hands on just above your belly button and just sit there and just allow the mind to be free. What am I seeing? And you'll just say, show me my feet. Okay. Now, if I could do this when I wasn't spiritual and I saw these feet on some pebbles from medieval England, anybody can do it. So it was just like, pop your hands together, lie down if you like on your bed, your couch, whatever, and just pop your hands there and just like, show me something from another lifetime. Okay. Now, it's not hard because you're going to see things, but your ego is going to go, you're not seeing anything. You're not doing it. You're not doing it right. Push it out of the way. If that's too hard for you, go and YouTube lots of past life meditations on YouTube. And I'd like to shout out to, there's two that I listen to, two particularly good ones. One's called Your Universe. Have you ever listened to her meditations?
No.
Okay, she's got one, and it takes you into a past lifetime. Well, she takes you into the multiverse, and there's 4 versions of yourself, all from different lifetimes, and she's inviting you to bring one of them back. That was very surreal. Steve Noble, I don't know if you've ever heard of Steve
Oh,
Noble,
yes.
Nobel. Love his meditations. He
Yeah.
does a lot of past lifetime meditations and clearing things from past lifetimes. So
Yes.
even if you think, I don't know what I'm doing, I've got to clear something, I don't know what it is, look up Steve Noble on YouTube, because he'll have a lot of past lifetime meditations that you can just lie there, listen to, and I can tell you now, stuff shifts, because on a subconscious level, you're saying to your higher self, I want to bring this to the surface and deal with it so I can let it go. So there's that. So you can do, go and see somebody like Joe or myself, because we can clear them for you. You can do it by yourself. Pop your hands on your solar plexus, or do a guided meditation on YouTube. That's always a very good way to do it. We can buy CDs and stuff like that. Quantum healing is another way. QHHT. It's a longer investment in time. I love that, Joe. It's a 6 or 7 hours. My longest was 9.5 hours.
Wow.
But when your customers, I had one lady, she said to me, she goes, and she's eating a souvlaki. So all of your senses are engaged. This is a deep hypnosis, but all of your senses are engaged. So your taste buds, your smell, your hearing, your sight, your touch, everything. She said to me, Charles, I'm in 1960s London. I'm having the best souvlaki of my life. Let me have another bite of this before you move me to another time frame. I was like, all right, just enjoy another bite of your souvlaki, and then off we go. And she did, and she goes, that was the best. That's an investment. QHHT is an investment, because what you're going to do is you get to go. So I just hold space for you. I put you into a trance after a few hours. I put you into a trance, and then I say to you, where are you? What does it look like? And some people will say, oh, I'm in Egypt, or I'm in the desert. That the sun is so hot. I've got to find some shade. Or some people, when they land wherever they are, they're screaming, Joe, because it's like, I'm being raped, I'm being killed, whatever it is. So it can be quite traumatic. And that's why you've got to have somebody that you trust holding that space for you, because I can say to you, no, calm it down. You don't have to feel anything. You can just see it as an observer. Tell me what's happening as an observer. Please don't feel anything. So that you can calm them right down. I've had people, seriously, that have had other lifetimes on other galaxies. So we're not limited to just this, I was going to say this country. We're not limited to this planet. This is the densest planet. And this is why more people want to come to Earth, because it's dense, it's heavy, and you can learn your soul's lessons very quickly. But people will have past lifetimes on other planets. So I often say to people, do you look at the stars a lot? And they go, all the time. I'm just finding myself every day, because it's like, I can see why, because you're from the stars. And what you're trying to do is reconnect with home. So there's a lot of things going on with past lifetimes. And I will sometimes say, so if it was me and you, Joe, and I say, okay, Joe, you've told me about your lifetime, and you're in Alabama, you're in the deep South, and you're cooking in the kitchen, and you've got servants. And I'll say to you when we finish, who in that lifetime, Joe, do you know now? And you can say, oh my God, my maid was the girl I work with at work that we're always fighting. And my husband was my son. And my daughter is my mother, because you can relate the energies of the souls to who they are now. And that's really relevant, because I had one beautiful customer, and she did not get along with her mother at all in this lifetime, at all. And it was quite a conflict. So we took her back into a past lifetime, and this woman's about to be hung in France for crimes against the crown. And I said to her, who's there? Who can you see there? And she said, over in the corner is the mayor of the town, and he's just watching me like he's waiting for me to get hung. Okay, so she got hung, and I said, in that lifetime, you saw the mayor. Who is that person in this lifetime? That was my mother. And that's why the relationship is strained in this lifetime, because in the other lifetimes, that person has put me to death. So this is what people need to understand. Relationships that you've had in other lifetimes can come into this lifetime and impact them.
Yes, very much so.
So there's some techniques that you can use, that you can, hands on your solar plexus. Sometimes I'd like to do that, and I do that. Put my hands on my solar plexus. I go and lie on the couch or on my bed. It's like, where do I know Joe from? Show me the lifetime that Joe and I first met and we got together. And I go, oh, okay. And then off we go. It starts to present itself. I did that with a friend, just like, show me where I met this person. And we were Vikings on a rowing boat. And we were, you know how
Really?
they used to chain them up and row? We were doing that. And I was getting really depleted. And this one was looking after me so well. It's like, so now the roles are reversed in this lifetime. I'm helping that one uplift. And, you know, they did that for me in another lifetime. So it's really interesting to see you can put connections together. How was
Yeah.
that? When I did hypnotize a woman, I told her, I didn't tell her, she was telling me, and she's telling me, I'm a scientist and I'm a botanist and I can see these plants. We did that beautiful 6 hours, whatever it was. The next week she saw me in a market. She was running to me, Charles, I found myself in England in the 1700s. I was there. It was me. And it's like, wow.
Wow.
Powerful stuff, Joe. She actually researched it because she could still see it, and that's the key with QHHT. They can still see it, or they can draw it at the end, and I'll say to them, "Hold that image," and at the end, I'll get you to draw it. So they'll hold it, and then, but she could see the plant, and that's what she did. She researched the plant. She goes, "Oh my God, that's the man that I was seeing. That was him." It's like, yeah.
Wow.
That's why past lifetimes are so powerful. They're so
Yeah.
special.
Yes.
They're
I
so
love it.
fascinating.
Yeah. And it's interesting also when when people don't like someone, and they just instantly, don't like them. And it's very rarely from this lifetime. It's because they've come together to help heal them, the souls, contract. Yeah. So it's so interesting as to, because they can't explain why they don't like them. They can only,
Yes.
they just, they'll just go, I don't like them. We clash. And
Yes.
yeah,
But that's the
yeah,
effects on a lot of past life trauma. I don't
yes,
know why I don't like scissors. I don't know why I don't like meat. I don't know why I don't like horse riding. I don't know why I don't want to go on a boat. And you go back into the trauma and it's like, that's why, that's why, that's why, that's why. And that was the Many Lives, Many Masters book. She was
yes,
frightened of, she was claustrophobic. Well, she had leprosy in the book, I think, and she got stuck in a
yes,
cave. You know what I mean?
yes,
So there's lots of different aspects like that that your soul remembers. We don't. But when you understand, it's like, oh, that's not now. That's another lifetime. I can let it go.
And often I find that I can remove some things, because some things you see that comes up within the soul, you wouldn't tell them because it's pretty dramatic what you're seeing.
Yes.
But with asking permission of their soul, is it okay if I remove this energy out of their chakra system now? Then all of a sudden, when you see them next, they'll be like, "Oh, I feel so much lighter." I felt like I couldn't do this, and all of a sudden I can. So sometimes with us, or for me, I make sure I ask the higher self's permission first of them. Is it okay if I move this out of their body? It no longer serves them. Then it helps them in so many ways have a much more fulfilling life in this lifetime.
Yes.
And if you're sitting there, it's all of your really darkest fears that you have sitting in your soul. They're the ones that you've had troubles with in your past lives. So,
Yes.
yeah, I
That's
often
exactly right.
find when people, I feel sorry for the ones where they have had many lifetimes as in a castle, or they've been royalty of some sort, and then they've been super eager and they've come back to earth as like a standard human that has to work, and they can't understand, like they don't keep a job very well. They look really terrible here on earth because it looks like they're failing on all levels. But it's like you have to kind of clear out some of those memories, because they're somewhat failing here. You know what I'm trying to
Yes.
say? Yeah.
Yes. But it helps them understand, whilst
Yes.
they might not be able to afford the finer things in life, it helps them understand, why am I always attracted to the most expensive cutlery set or the most expensive crockery set? Because you were royalty in another lifetime and that's what you were used to. So
Yeah.
they get that understanding. It's like, you can't do that. That's
Yeah.
really interesting, Joe, because I took a group to India, 2016, 2017, 2016, I think it was. And the group was struggling with the poverty in India.
Mhm.
And I actually had to
Yes.
stop them and say, stop, just think of it like this, okay? This is a lifetime where these people are learning a life of poverty. But in another lifetime, they might have been the Maharaja or the Maharani in India. So they've had the life of excess. I said, so all this is doing is just balancing that experience from one to another. And when I actually showed them, I said, have a look at these people that are living in poverty. Do they look sad to you? And the people that we were connecting with were all joyful. They were having their experience, but it's just like, you know what? This is my experience. I'm going to make the best of it. And that's what I
Yeah.
said. Don't look at it as they're struggling. They've struggled because this might be the balance to a life of excess somewhere. They have to have
Yeah.
the both. Everybody
Yeah.
has to have both. So
Yes.
it's really interesting when you look at it like that, that you're right. I could be the royal family, and then the next life I'm going to be a pauper on the street.
Yeah.
I could be a business
Absolutely.
owner, but next time I'm gonna be the train driver. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It happens
Eh,
a lot. One thing, sorry, go on.
No, no, you go. You go. Yeah.
One thing I was gonna say, people sometimes, I don't know if you've had this, you possibly have. People come sometimes and say, "I don't know why, but this part of my shoulder has been sore for years. I remember as a little kid it was sore. I go to the doctors, they've taken X-rays,
Yes.
MRI scans, they can't find a thing." And I look at it, it's like, "Oh, yeah," because somebody stabbed you in the back there in another lifetime, and it's a painful point for you, or, "Oh, my knee's really sore. What's going on?" "Oh, yeah, you were on a horse and you got speared to death, or you were jousting with some." So trauma from body parts
Mm.
happens as well. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
the one thing that I have learned through hypnosis is the soul will remember the pain at the year of the pain happening. So you could go the first 50 years of your life and everything's fantastic. In another lifetime, if at 51 your leg got chopped off, well, guess what? Your soul's going to remember that. So at 51, you're going to have some pain in your knee or your leg. And it's like, what is this? And it's just trying to make you remember this was the past. This is where you were. And once we
Mm.
give them that clearing, sometimes that helps either alleviate it or release it or get rid of it. But it's a
Yeah.
really interesting tool that medical science can't find the reasons for this, but you can quickly look at it. It's like, that's from this. That's what that
Yeah.
was, you know?
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
it's
And
it's
also, I
interesting
think
stuff.
also, I believe that, and love your opinion, that sometimes you can bring in uh, other abundance from other lifetimes that you have had
Yes,
and bring it into this lifetime.
yes. Yeah, I agree because think of it like this, every incarnation is an evolvement of our soul. That's the
Yes.
aim. That's how I see it. Every incarnation is the evolvement of our soul. So what we want to do is get to a point where we don't want to incarnate anymore because we've learned all the lessons. We become one with the creator. So
Yeah.
what we're doing is with your words, we're bringing all of that wisdom from other lifetimes into this lifetime. So if I've had a lifetime of abundance, I'm going to know how to generate that abundance. That makes sense.
Yes.
So I'll bring that wisdom with me. And that takes me back to that story before where I said to this woman, there's abundance sitting in you. You've been rich in another lifetime. You're just too scared to bring it back out into this lifetime. And when she brought it back out, it's just like, okay, here it comes. Let's go. So it's
Yeah.
very interesting that your soul remembers and it knows how to do things. You watch them on YouTube, little kids go into the cockpit of the plane. It's like that button does this and that button does that
Yeah.
and that button does the other because they were World War II fighter pilots. They understood how the
Yeah.
cockpit works. They understand what all the switches are.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
very special. It's very special. So past lifetimes, people sometimes dismiss them. I would say, go and explore who you are. Go and
Yeah.
explore what makes you special. Go and explore what makes you you. Does that make sense? Because when you
Yeah.
do, you get a bigger perception of who you are. Because most people just look at it like this. I'm Charles. I went to school. I traveled the world and worked at Qantas, and that's who I am. When you start looking at past lifetimes, it's like, oh yeah, well I was a cowboy and I shot somebody in the back and killed them. Oh, you're getting bigger, bigger. I worked at Atlantis, and my job was to recharge amethyst all day, every day, and so it's like I'm more than who I think I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's
Absolutely.
why I love it for the passion. Who am I? What makes me tick?
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's also, it helps you evolve to a better soul if you can kind of help heal some of those. So,
Correct.
mm,
And that's the purpose while we're living here, so that we can heal that and move it
mm,
along. But as Dolores Cannon says to us, some people could take, 500 to 1,000 years learning one lesson.
mm,
And it's like, yeah, no, hurry that along because you don't want to be stuck in that program doing it over and over again. Does that make sense?
No,
An
no.
interesting aspect that I have seen in other lifetimes, and we'll just touch on it because I don't want to go too deep into it, is past lives where there's been suicide.
Oh, yes.
I find when I have somebody that's had a past life and it's been a suicide in another lifetime, they're
Mhm.
struggling in this lifetime. Not
Yeah,
everybody, but there's a percentage of those people that might have suicided in a lifetime that will struggle in this lifetime because
yeah,
what they did in their last lifetime was, but they weren't able to complete what they were here to do. So
yes.
they've got to do more in this lifetime, but also complete what they didn't finish in the other lifetime. So you've got that aspect where they feel like they're always going to be behind the eight ball. Does that make sense? So
Mm,
I just sort of help them along and say, no. Just complete what we need to complete. You are okay. You are human. You are not the person in that lifetime. This is a different time frame. The world is different. You don't have to be that person. So that's a very interesting aspect
mm.
that stuff like that can impact this lifetime as well.
Very much so, very much so. And I think also I find when someone's had a few past lives and they've been naughty in some way, they're like, I always see when I walk past, not always, but a lot of the time, where they're a volunteer and they're a Salvation Army person standing next to the wooden box,
Yes,
and I think,
yes,
wow, they don't know why they're driven to be of service in this lifetime to help others or give lots of their time. And I think they're trying to pay back to accrue some good karma, you know,
yes,
of past
yes.
lives.
And that could also be simply, that could also be, you know how sometimes in a family there's that one child that might want to look after their parents or something like that until they're, you know how they're
Yeah.
aged? That's that
Yes.
person paying back karma to their parent that might have done the reverse for them in a lifetime. So they're repaying that karma. So that's
Yeah.
what that is. I find that very fascinating that there's always going to be in a family unit, possibly one person that will go, I'm going to look after mum until she passed. And it's all they're doing
Yeah.
is I'm repaying that karma where she's done that for me in another lifetime. So it's it's
Yes.
it's very interesting. And look, I could talk about this for hours because past lives are
Yes.
then connected to your higher self, as in
Yes.
your spirit guides are you from other lifetimes.
Yes.
So there's lots of concepts that that this could go to, and we could discuss about anything. Another one, if you like Brian Weiss and you like Dolores Cannon, look at this dude. I love this man as well. Dr. Michael Newton. This is
Yes.
his second book. The first book was called Journey of the Soul. Oh my God. If you want to know what happens, if you're not interested in past lifetimes, that's totally fine. I understand that. But if you want to know what happens between when you pass away or cross over to when you come back, what your soul does in all of that time, he's the one to read. Dr. Michael Newton. He's hypnotized thousands and thousands of people, got their testimonials, and he'll only write chapters when his information is correlated by quite a few different people. And it's
Yes.
amazing what happens when you cross over, where you go, what you do in the process. Fascinating, fascinating stuff, Joe. Fascinating.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And the other thing I just wanted to touch on before we finish as well is that sometimes accidents happen. It wasn't the destiny of that person to die in that car accident or whatever. So even though we may have a journey here on earth, I guess I get lots of parents going, why did that happen? You know? And I'll often say, look, some people say that there's no coincidences, and sometimes I do believe that. But sometimes I do say I see in souls that have died through an accident. I said sometimes our spiritual team can't control everything and protect us. So sometimes, the reason why you grieve that loss of that person in your life so much is because that wasn't meant to happen that way. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So,
Yes.
yeah, so even though that doesn't bring them much comfort, but it can understand why, like it's like they were ripped out from them in their life, and it's super sad, but it just wasn't. There are accidents that happen in our lifetime.
Yes, definitely. We have to be aware of that. I mean, a lot of things are planned. Does that make sense? But
Yes,
then there are other
yes,
things
of
that are
course.
not planned. And
No,
I agree with you 100%. because you think, wow, they've got their whole life to live, and like that, it's just happened. It's just gone that quickly.
Yeah.
We have free will. We have free will as people. Our souls have free will. So, but
Yes.
things do happen that I've seen it. I've said to people, this wasn't supposed to happen this way. This wasn't the plan. This wasn't, what was intended.
No.
So that's where this work is very delicate. It's
Very.
words are power, and you've got to be very um, selective with the words you use. Even when you're in a past life, I will say to
Yeah.
people, explain it to me, describe it to me. And sometimes when they're going back to 1100s, think of it like this, Joe. When they're going back to a time in the 1100s, they don't know the word glass. They don't
No.
know the word plastic. It's not created. So they try and describe it, and it's like, oh, okay. And that's the thing. The language can sometimes change. So
Yeah.
that's why words are really powerful. And when I see a past life, I've got to be really delicate. That's what I think I have to be delicate with my words. So I try and not soften the blow, but I'm delicate in describing things so that my clients can understand it and not be perturbed by it in any way.
I'm always very, very delicate. I have had a few people come to me, and the other reader probably was too graphic in what they've told the person. And so, I try, I just find out from my spirit team what's the main point here of this story. Like, they don't
Correct.
need to know, because
Yes.
if someone told me some graphic things, I'd be like, I couldn't get over past that, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
So, so I think, with that, it is delicate, and you do have to be very careful about how you say it to people.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I like you, Joe. I usually talk to the team. I was like, what's the purpose of this? What are you showing me here?
Yeah.
And I'll just fast forward. Show me what's pertinent for me to know, so then I can
Yes.
pass that on to my customers in a way that they get, and in a way that's
Yeah.
not going to scare them or frighten them. And then
Yeah.
clear it all out, and then off they go. And you're right. When they walk away, you'll see them and say, "You're a different person. Your energy's lighter.
Yes.
You've
Very
lifted."
much.
And there's nothing better than seeing somebody walk out of your room and they're uplifted and they're holding their head high. It's like, that was amazing. I get that now. So
Yes.
yeah, I could talk about it for hours, Joes, and I could talk about spin-offs and souls and split
Oh,
souls and different aspects, and it just goes
be
on.
another episode, I reckon.
I think so, Joe. I think so. Viewers, let us know what you want to see too. Give us an indication in the comment section of what you would like us to discuss, because
Yeah.
we've got a few, plans, and we might even do one or two lives. We'll give you advance warning when we're going to go live, but we've got
Yes.
lots that we want to discuss with you. But please, in the comments, give us a like and a subscribe. But tell us what you want to see, okay? Because we could talk
Yeah.
about things. Tarot, love tarot, read tarot all the time, or oracle cards. Joe, you do a lot of angel cards and oracle cards, don't you?
Yes. Yes. I did them this afternoon before we started.
Yeah. So
Yes.
we can talk to you about whatever it is you want to know, and then that way we want to build like a community of people, don't we, Joe?
Yes, very much so, because not everyone can see us. So we want to, this is another way of us, getting our view out there and our thoughts.
Yes.
And it's so amazing where people go, I didn't know that about you, Joe, or I didn't know that was your opinion. And I didn't, one of the basketball mums came up and went, I didn't even know what you did, Joe. Like, I only see you as Lexi's mum. Like, yeah.
Yes. And isn't
So,
that interesting when you give people a totally different perspective of who you are and what you
yeah.
do? And kudos, Joe, because that's us owning it. Does that make
Yes.
sense? That's us owning it. I remember
Yeah.
when I did the Belinda Grace class at the start, when I was doing it 2 hours a week for 7 weeks before I did the first retreat. I'd go to work at Qantas and tell them what I'd studied the night before. Oh my God, these chakra things, and you can feel the energy, and it does all this. And then we did the week of past lifetimes. Oh my goodness gracious me. And they all lined up. Charles, feel my stomach. What can you see? What does it look like? What do you know? Oh, and it was so much fun. But that's the thing. We've got to put it out there, because what you'll find is if you don't share these things with people, you're going to miss people that are actually quite wise in a lot of this wisdom and a lot of this knowledge. And that's what we want to try and find, is a community of people that are happy to explore and share and debate. Because what I'll say to you is, take from these episodes that we're creating what you need to take from them. You might not take everything on board, but take what resonates with you, because that way that helps you propel you on your spiritual journey. And then that might be something I want to look into or look forward to. So be discerning. That's going to go, Joe.
Oh, it gives you more empathy for others as well, because sometimes when you watch people how they play out or do things, you think, it's not just this one dimension that you're seeing people in. There's many dimensions.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. You're seeing them at many, many levels. And it's like, so you can actually paint them in pictures like, this is why this is happening. Can I change it? Well, this might be karma that you've got to pay back. So if it's karma, unfortunately, you have to complete it. You have to finish it. But everybody's on their journey, and we just have to respect everybody's journey. And everybody's journey is different, guys. So don't compare yourself to anyone, because you could be the same age. You could have been born the same day, minutes apart. But what you're here to learn are totally different things. Twins are a classic example of that. Like you said before, Joe, you had one that was a skinnier one, the one that was a large one. They're doing different things. I'm a twin. I know. My twin brother and I are doing different things. My husband's a twin, and his twin brother and him do different things. So everybody's on a spiritual journey. Don't compare, because you don't know what they're doing and they don't know what you're doing. So it's really, really special.
Charles, just a quick question. Is your twin brother at all psychic or clairvoyant?
Not really. Well, not that he's opened up to, Joe. Not that he's opened up to in any way, shape, nor form. So he allows me to do healings on him. But what I see and what he sees are different things. But I will say, Joe, he did say to me the other day, I was talking to my team, Charles, you'd be very proud of me. I was talking to my team, but there was nothing coming back. And I said, that's fine. Just go and sit outside in nature and it'll come to you as a thought, because you've got a bit of interference going on. It's not until you can clear your interference away that you'll go. But I thought that was good. He's taking steps in the right direction. It's all good.
Oh, cool. Good, I always forget that you're a twin. That's
it's very special. Very special. All right, everyone. Well, we'll finish this one here. Have a lovely week. Thank you, Joe, so much. We had a few technical issues at the start, but we've overcome those. But thank you for the past lives. If you've got any questions, write your questions into the comments, and Joe and I can reply to those. If you want any names of the books or any of the authors, I might even link a few of the YouTube meditations in there as well, or their pages, so that you can have a look. And just go and explore, go and see what it's all about, because you'll be surprised who you are.
Yeah. And if you want to book one of Charles's past life regressions, please, go along to Charles's website. And I include them in my healings that I do. So, so you can either way. So if that's of interest to you.
Perfect. All right, excellent. We'll see you next week. Have a
great
week.
See you next week. Bye.
Thanks, love. Bye.
Bye.